I guess if I was up on screen, it might help. Huh? All right. We will start. Let's see how far we get into this. I'm kind of hungry. Um, Indifference to reality from Notes on Nationalism, Polmick, October 1945. Indifference to reality. All nationalists have the power of seeing resemblances between sets of facts. A British Tory will defend self determination in Europe and oppose it in India with no feeling of inconsistency. Actions are held to be good or bad, not on their own merits, but according to them who does them. There's almost no kind of outrage, torture, the use of hostages. We see that today, forced labor, mass deportations, imprisonment without trial, forgery, assassination, the bombing of civilians, which does not change its moral color when it is committed by our side. The Liberal News Chronicle published as an example of shocking barbarity photographs of Russians hanged by Germans, and then a year or two later published them with warm approval, almost exactly similar photographs of Germans hanged by Russians. It is the same with historical events. History is thought of largely in national terms, and such things as the Inquisition. Sorry, going Monty Python on us here. Now I forgot what. Okay, the tortures of the Star Chamber, the exploits of the English buccaneers, Sir Francis Drake, for instance, who was giving to sinking Spanish prisoners alive, the Reign of Terror, the heroes of the mutiny blowing hundreds of Indians from the guns of or Cromwell soldiers slashing Irish women's faces with razors. Become morally neutral or even meritorious when it is felt that they were done in the right cause. If one looks back over the past quarter of a century, one finds that there was hardly a single year when atrocity stories were not being reported from some part of the world. And yet, in not one single case were these atrocities in Spain, Russia, China, Hungary, Mexico. Hey, Cap, Mexico, Amritsar, Smyrna believed in any and disapproved by the English intelligentsia as a whole. Whether such deeds were reprehensible or whether they happened was always decided according to political predilection. Hey, Jenny. Priestess. Hey, hey. No, maybe. Yeah. Pat's Cats. Hey, Sherry. Woodrow. Yes, it was. There's also a movie in it. Was Mike with it? Michael Douglas. That I'm dating myself again. Um, Actually, I want to, since Woodrow's here, let's take a journey back. to the first part of this from yeah, to nationalism. That was kind of a heavy chapter yesterday. Um, Let me look and see. Actually, I want to do something else too. I just remember it being a reign of terror in and of itself within the political realm. But I want to send something and then share it because it fits nicely with the narrative. Okay, Pats, that's fine. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Wonderful Friday. Let me see. I thought this was funny. Please, please don't be offended if you're a fan, but I shared this on my my Discord. Uh, I just I just thought it was extremely funny. Did that share? Just want to make sure y'all got the. Oh, I was thinking about in the previous chapter how it is where he talks about identifying oneself with a single nation or another unit. So so we have the units right within uh, the U.S., the left and the right, the white nationalists, the I mean other nationalist groups. Um, you have militant groups on all sides. We think white nationalists more because of the headline producing crimes. Um, but that's kind of what I was thinking about last night, and then the patriotism being defensive, and oftentimes nationalism becomes offensive. Yeah, I concur with Pat. If you're done cleaning, I have a full full loft that could use some spick and spanning, bachelor life and all. Anyway, that was my thought on kind of my thoughts on the breaking down that heavier chapter. Is it's kind of just um in fact, I was talking to Rights On about this in comments about the everybody's in their own little, well, I may have said this too, everybody's in their own little silos, and what they do is right and what everybody else does is wrong, instead of turning your ire upon the government that created the situations that caused us to be in these silos. You haven't missed that much, Double D's. We were just doing a previous chapter review. Maybe I'm too much into my professor hat shit. Woodrow, in my opinion, any belief can be radicalized, including but not limited to nationalism and patriotism. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with national pride. Um, there's nothing wrong with, say, militarized national pride. That goes to the patriotism being defensive, right? You show off what your defensive capabilities are. But we became Team America World Police, and it it is maybe we'll delve into Smedley Butler too. He was a two-time Medal of Honor winning Marine Corps general. And he wrote a scathing review. I never knew who he was until I was I was doing my Ned and Jeff stuff, and a Marine told me I needed to read some Smedley Butler, and it was it was very eye opening that we we were saying the same things a century apart, uh, and the same problems exist. To, uh, I tell you what, Woodrow, when I hit 500 subscribers, I'll put on my tweed suit and do the full professorship. 3-piece, but at that, there were 3 of us in at the Pentagon. It it was me, Sean Ryan, and Sean Sullivan. Somehow 3 Seans got put together, and given all of our last names, we all wore 3-piece suits, and it was they would be like, "Wow, here comes the Irish Mafia." So that was a pretty fun time. So anyway, what Double D's Team America. So when that came out, my oldest was like 2, and we had it on or something, and he said you had to take a left at Balilakadaka Street, and that cracked her the frick up. It was the funniest thing, and she used to try to say that, and anyway, we still do that to this day. See, it's just a stupid little thing we did together, and she had me bawling like a little girl yesterday. She sent me Paul Simon's Father and Daughter. Jeez, evil child. It was a documentary. All right, back to life, back to reality. We shall indifference to reality. I already read this, but for those of you who came in late, we'll go back over it because there was some notes I wanted to make. Indifference to reality. All nationalists have the power of not seeing resemblances between similar sets of facts. A British Tory will defend self-determination in Europe and oppose it in India with no feeling of inconsistency. Actions are held to be good or bad, not on their own merits, but according to who does them. There is almost no kind of outrage, torture, the use of hostages, forced labor, mass deportations, imprisonment without trial, forgery, assassination, the bombing of civilians, which does not damage its moral color when it is committed by our side. Yeah, I knew he was a Quaker. I learned all that from reading about him, and I kind of he Chesty Puller never was awarded the Medal of Honor. Chesty had like 42 silver stars, Navy Crosses, and silver stars. Um, it wasn't that many, but Chesty was the he may have had more decorations, but if you're wearing two medals of honor, you're something. I think there's been three in history, something like that. But yeah, I think he had like 13 silver stars. Let's see. Always loved the nickname Chesty Puller for him. Let us see what Chesty's awards were. I'm not a big fan of the use of holy Lord have mercy. First row, Navy Cross with 4 gold stars, so 5. He had a Distinguished Service Cross from the Army, so that's 6 service crosses. Silver Star from the Army, Legion of Merit with a Combat V. That's pretty rare. So that he had 2 of those. Bronze Star Medal, 1. Air Medal, 3. 1 Purple Heart, 1, 4, 5 PUCs, a gold conduct medal, a good conduct medal, Expeditionary Medal, 2. Victory Medal, Haitian campaign. Where's the silver stars? I could have swore he had silver stars. I guess he didn't. All right, let's look up Schmedley. He was the one that they asked to overthrow Roosevelt. Um, the business plot. He wasn't a bad looking guy, Lieutenant. He got really sick during the Banana Wars. Him on the police baseball team. Let me. He looks like there when he's being older. He looks like the vultures on like Looney Tunes and stuff. How in the world did we get so off subject? Anyway. Yeah, the business plot. Let's see. Medal of Honor, second award, brevet medal, distinguished service medal. Yeah, so his big thing was the two medals of honor, which nothing for nothing, but that's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, I think wasn't he 14, Joey? When and I'm talking about I'm talking about Smedley when he joined or something like that, 14 or 16. Gene Hackman was 15 when he joined the Marines. Thank you, Priestess. We do. It it's it keeps us on our toes. But I mean it kind of does ring back to this stuff though, because Smedley came to the realization that he was fighting businessmen wars. The banana wars were literally so America controlled the banana trade, uh, building the railways around Guatemala, Honduras. I can't remember all the other Central American countries that we were fighting them over. But anyway, and anywho, actions are being held to be good or bad, not on their own merits, but according to who does them. And there is almost no kind of torture, outrage, the use of hostages. That's what I wanted to get to as well. We see that the use of hostages, a ceasefire to he life hacked it, Double D's, was vetoed because we're dealing with hostages on either side, really, of a conflict. You guys all know where I am, but I am not a big fan of what's going on, and I think there's other ways of resolving conflict. But this is an age old war that didn't start 100 years ago was rare that someone so deep in the military got woke and realized the military was used for corporate operations. Yeah. Well, after Vietnam, I think, hey, Nomad, I know, I thought it was funny. I was laughing. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that. Um, I don't want to be judged for what a nation does by my I don't want my ancestors or my religious belief to be judged because of what uh what some people in government do. I want to thank Nomad. Nomad does my thumbnails in just extremely good work. New series I'm working on, they have done just a bang up job. So thank you. Forced labor, mass deportations, what we are potentially going to see coming up very soon. Imprisonment without trial. We saw that. Well, I mean, the during the real rendition days, not the renditions that um, sometimes people use to describe a seditionist. So let's see. But yeah, post 9/11, imprisonment without trial was a huge, huge thing. Forgery, assassination, yeah, the bombing of civilians, which does not change its moral color when it is committed by our side. The Liberal News Chronicle published, as an example of shocking barbarity, photographs of Russians hanged by the Germans, and then a year later or two, published with warm approval almost exactly similar photographs of Germans hanged by Russians. It is the same with historical events. History is thought of largely in nationalist terms. Such things as the Inquisition, the torture of the Star Chamber, the exploits of the English buccaneers, Sir Francis Drake, for example, who was given to sinking Spanish prisoners alive, the Reign of Terror, the heroes of the mutiny, blowing hundreds of Indians from the guns, or Cromwell's soldiers slashing Irish women's faces with razors, become morally neutral or even meritorious when it is felt they were done with the right cause. If one looks back over the past quarter of a century, one finds that there was hardly a single year when atrocity stories were not being reported from some part of the world. And yet, in not one single case were these atrocities in Spain, Russia, China, Hungary, Mexico, Amritsar, that T messes me up, Smyrna, believed and disapproved of by the English intelligentsia as a whole. Whether such deeds were reprehensible or even whether they happened was always decided according to political predilection. Hey, Misty, the nationalist not only does not disapprove of atrocities committed by its own, side, but has a remarkable capacity for not even hearing about them. For quite 6 years, the English admirers of Hitler contrived not to learn of the existence of Dachau or Buchenwald, and those who are loudest in denouncing the German concentration camps are quite often unaware or only very dimly aware that there are also concentration camps in Russia. A lot of people do forget about that. This is why Einstein became a pacifist. No, he hated that his knowledge allowed for the creation of more and more horrible ways to kill people. Believe me, I not on the same extent, but and I know somebody else would have done the things I did, but it still works on you. Huge events like the Ukraine famine of 1933, not perpetrated by the Jews, by the way, odd, involving the deaths of millions of people, have actually escaped the attention of the majority of English Russophiles. Many English people have heard almost nothing about the extermination of German and Polish Jews during the present war. Their own anti Semitism has, see, not a new term. Odd. Yes, Oppenheimer did learn it too late. Their own anti Semitism has caused this vast crime to bounce off their consciousness. Come on. And nationalists thought there are facts which are both true and untrue, known and unknown. A known fact may be so unbearable that it is habitually pushed aside and not allowed to enter into logical processes. Or on the other hand, it may enter into every calculation and yet never be admitted as fact, even in one's own mind. Thank you, Rumsfeld, for reminding us of the known facts and unknown facts. Joey, why is this? Dish the tea, sir. What? What? No. Did he get permission from his? What? Okay. Woo. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, enough tea. I don't want to get off my. Teach me to take a day from messing around. Tell you the truth, I slept most of the day. Every nationalist is haunted. Chris would smush him like a ant. Is haunted by the belief that the past can be altered. He's and we see this as plans now is trying to alter the past, right? Trying to change what history is. Um, so, wonder if his ankle monitor went off. He spends part of his time in a fantasy world in which things happen as they should, in which, for example, the Spanish Armada was a success or the Russian Revolution was crushed in 1918. And he will transfer fragments of this world to the history books whenever possible, wanting to change history books, wanting to change me and my dad had this argument because he's like the history book should be the same as when he was in school in the 60s. And I'm like, yeah, but there's new evidence discovered of new fact, right? Um and proof that some things were altered. Um so I don't know what the resistance is to new facts and the the just left my head. I'm sorry. Oh, or the fear of science. Much of the propagandist writing of our time amounts to plain forgery. Yeah, priestess, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, but Jeannie, I thought he couldn't go to I thought he couldn't leave Oklahoma. I mean, he could have got a day pass or something, I guess. You're absolutely right, Woodrow, and that's why when you find different fragments of things and it you shed new light. Archaeology discovers things and it changes history. But then they find something else and changes the ideas about that. That's the beauty about a hard science is you it's false. You want it has to be falsifiable. There's no hard and fast rules. That's why gravity is a theory. It it's open to be changed. Well, if he's on an ankle monitor, which he said he was on, put a stick of butter in between there, I guess. Wrapped it up in tinfoil. All right, but anyway, let's see. My material facts are suppressed, dates altered, quotations removed from their context, and doctored so as to change their meaning, even which it is felt ought not to have happened are left unmentioned and ultimately denied. In 1927, Chiang Kai shek boiled hundreds of communists alive, and yet within 10 years, he had become one of those heroes of the left. The realignment of world politics had brought him into the anti-fascist camp, and so it was felt that the boiling of communists didn't count, or perhaps it had not happened. The primary aim of propaganda is, of course, to influence contemporary opinion. But those who rewrite history do probably believe with part of their minds that they are actually thrusting facts into the past. Oh, okay, Jenny. Yeah, Woodrow, you're absolutely right. You wouldn't want me to say aluminium? Let's see. What was I going to say? I had a thought. Is it priestess? But I mean, more digging or just more? I haven't been in 15. Oh well, I can't remember my thought. I'm sorry. I hate doing those long pauses. Oh, we've always called it tinfoil. Let's see. So the primary aim of propaganda is oh, wait a minute. The realignment of world politics had brought him into the anti-fascist camp, and so it was felt that the boiling of communists didn't count, or perhaps didn't happen. The primary aim of propaganda is, of course, to influence contemporary opinion. But those who rewrite history do probably believe in, with part of their minds, that they are actually thrusting facts into the past. When one considers the elaborate forgeries that have been committed in order to show that Trotsky did not play a valuable part in the Russian Civil War, it is difficult to feel that the people responsible are merely lying. Or probably they felt that their own version was what happened in the sight of God, and that one is justified in rearranging the records accordingly. Indifference to objective truth is encouraged by the sealing off of one part of the world from another, which makes it harder and harder to discover what is actually happening. Good point, Jenny. You cannot mispronounce tinfoil. I mean, I guess you could call it foil, full, in my southern vernacular. So at the end of this, we'll get together and have a good hate, in the words of Mr. Orwell, and we can talk about uh, this nuttiness. I just have things in my head about the past couple of days with our whole house of doofus. Crazy how they've all come together, right? Let's see. There can be. Oh, thinking about when it mentions Trotsky, right? He was a darling in Paris. They loved him, and he was lauded. It and you think about this trying to make things untrue, like Putin was persona non grata, the former KGB agent turned strongman president, for lack of a better term, dictator. Um, and now he is lauded in America. Um, we fought 2 wars about something, but yet never held the Saudi royal family um, responsible for their role. A journalist was murdered, chopped up, and disposed of, and nothing happened. And the former president's son-in-law got $2.5 billion as his reward for talking about, you know, getting America not to condemn it. So we have facts standing in front of our face, and geez, I meant for this just to be like a sharing of information and ideas. I did not mean for this to be a become this Walter Cronkite-esque commentary on the world, but reading it all just comes so together. I don't know. Joey, was it you that was asking if he was a time traveler? No, Khashoggi. And I was talking about the Saudis. I loved Walter Cronkite. I'd probably be more of who was the who was the guy that always signed off, and that's the way it is. He was just a editorial guy. I can't remember who it was. I loved him. Me and my grandpa used to listen to him on his shortwave actually all the time. Who was it? Somebody can look it up and let me know. He signed off, and that's just the way it is. Paul Harvey, thank you. Yeah, I loved his curmudgeon spirit. He was wrong about a lot of stuff, but I did like a lot about him. Let's see. Oh, but anyway, I was saying that I think Joey was saying he was a time traveler. He could have been like a prophet of old, right? He was just a prophet of doom. MC Doom should never mind. There can often be a genuine doubt about. Yeah, even before 60 Minutes, he was absolutely his radio commentary was what I remember most. He was older when he started doing 60 Minutes. But when I was trying to think of his name, I kept seeing Harry Carey in my head, and I was like, I know that's wrong. That's baseball. Hey Norm, hey Norm, if you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? I know I would. Great times on thank you, Jenny. Great times on Saturday Night Live when Norm Macdonald was on there. The Harry Carey episodes were my favorite. Let's see. Yeah, but who's on first? such a such a good skit. Oh man. Let's see. Hang on, I got to figure out where it was. More probably, they feel that their own version of version was what happened in the sight of God, and that one is justified in rearranging the records accordingly. Joey, I didn't write that God, just to be clear. So don't condemn me because oops, just screwed up my game. Don't tell me I can't get into heaven because I made a graven image. Thank you. I spell check changed it up for me one time. Yeah, especially when you endure my side rants. I think it must be my dad does that all the time when he's preaching. It's so not only did my parents convert, my dad's been a pastor for the last 25 years in a fundamentalist Baptist church. So indifference to objective truth is encouraged by the sealing off of one part of the world from another. So your silos, right? If you can't get information from what's going on outside the world, you can cultivate the narrative. That word has been destroyed. Just like interesting, which makes it harder and harder to discover what is actually going on. There can often be a genuine doubt about most enormous events. For example, it is impossible to calculate within millions, perhaps even tens of millions, the numbers of death caused by the present war. Wasn't Harry Carey an actor? I don't know. The Carey family is a very famous baseball broadcasting family. They called for Skip called for the Braves. Harry was Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, and I don't know. There was other Careys. Very again DNA produced voices. There can often be okay, well, we already read that. The calamities that are constantly being reported, battles, massacres, famines, revolutions, tend to inspire in the average person a feeling of unreality. One has no way of verifying the facts. One is not even fully certain that they have happened, and one is always presented with totally different interpretations from different sources. What about the rights and wrongs of the Warsaw Rising of 1944? Is it true about the German gas ovens in Poland? We know that now, right? Who was really to blame for the Bengal famine? Probably the truth is discoverable, but the facts will be so dishonestly set forth in almost any newspaper that the ordinary reader can be foreign, either for swallowing lies or for failing to form an opinion. The general uncertainty as to what is really happening makes it easier to cling to lunatic beliefs. Since nothing is ever quite proved or disproved, the most unmistakable fact can be impudently denied. Moreover, although endlessly brooding on power, victory, defeat, revenge, the nationalist is often somewhat uninterested in what happens in the real world. They only want to concentrate. They want to be insulary, right? Um, let's be isolationists. Um, in isolationism and insane tariffs are going to cost us a large amount of national power, which is the unfortunate thing about turning inside and uh, really becoming a backwards nation. Think Japan in the 19th century, the resistance to industrialization, right? Um, so I was watching a an economist talk about how the tariffs in I mean the sanctions even on Russia, China and India are just killing uh on sales, and their economies are growing and growing, and we're losing out on that trade. And unfortunately, if we do, uh, Woodrow, that's called lunatic fringe. If you are a fan of 70s rock and roll, are you saying I have lunatic beliefs, Woodrow? I probably do. Let's see. Anyway, I was going somewhere with that point. It'll might come back to me. Did anybody watch Wyatt today? By the way, I haven't seen him. Hope he's okay. I scrolled by and he was folding clothes or something on his stream, but I rolled over and went back to sleep. Yeah, Woodrow, it is. But I I think for the most part, we over here look and the us and them thing, but the ability to look for facts and cleaning is hard, Pats. It's one of the most exhausting things to me. Um, but understanding and being critical of every side of an argument. Think I, I think that Orwell is saying that extremism on both sides is the evil that will destroy us. And we need to go over VA, the 2025 VA. Some of the VA benefits, like sleep apnea, is actually going down by a pretty significant amount. Uh, VA disability is going to go down for it. Let's see. So we need to go over that in case any of you guys have or know anyone that has those things. Um, what he wants is to feel that his own unit is getting better of some other unit, and he can more easily do this by scoring off an adversary than by examining the facts to see whether they support him. All nationalist controversy is at the debating society level. Oh boy, howdy are they. Debate me, bros. I can't believe I've been entering into that arena just to, yeah. And nobody wants to hear facts. It's just all nationalist controversy is at the debating society level. It is always entirely inconclusive, since each contestant invariably believes himself to have won the victory. Some nationalists are not far from schizophrenia, living quite happily amid dreams of power and conquest, which have no connection with the physical world. Holy crap. How does this actually even enter into our little YouTube world? The 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 irrational thought of victories and conquests between a imaginary civil war that, yeah, it could happen. It can happen anywhere. But just having this clear vision of who you want to off because you have these petty things with. Hey, don't knock Pinky in the brain. They're my they work for Mossad. So do the same thing we do every week. What is that, Brain? To take over the world. Tactics, comrades, tactics. From Animal Farm, 1945. Log. They're great. It was such a good show. Change nationalists in that sentence to YouTube victory just for fun. All right, let's go. Pew pew. This is a great little site for looking up books on a PDF. It's called ereader.perleg. Hang on. Let's see if I can do this. Y'all know I'm a did that come over as a link? Now I paid for a year. I paid for mine, so I don't know how it works for the free part. But planning on doing this, it was worth the investment to me. So I'll see where we are. Some YouTube victorious are not far from schizophrenia, living quite happily amid their dreams of YouTube power and YouTube conquest, which have no connection with the physical world. How's that? Woodrow. I love Ren and Stimpy. Oh, Brack. I love Brack, Brick. It could work. It really could. What's so bad is Brick really is not a bad guy. He is misguided for some reason. My dad preaching in jails, he says about 40% of the people um, that were in there held the same beliefs systems as the sovereign citizen movement. I'm not sure what indoctrination is going on in there, but uh, he sees a lot of it in there. He sees people that weren't that way when they went into jails and prisons and came out with that belief system. It's an interesting dynamic. I'll have to see if there's any studies on that. Okay. On the third Sunday after Snowball's expulsion, so we're in the animal farm, obviously. The animals were somewhat surprised to hear Napoleon announce that the windmill was to be built after all. He did not give any reason for having changed his mind, but merely warned the animals that this extra task would mean very hard work. It might even be necessary to reduce their rations. Yeah, Woodrow, it is. But he wants to learn. He has this I don't want to insult him by saying this childlike desire for knowledge. Uh but he really does. And I think if he would get away from the chili and the Todd sauce, he would do well. And actually go to school. I mean, I don't know what his educational issues are. I think he's intimated that he may be on the spectrum. I don't know. Um, but anyway, so that evening, Squealer explained privately to the other animals that Napoleon had never, in reality, been opposed to the windmill. On the contrary, it was he who had advocated it in the beginning, and that the plan which Snowball had drawn on the floor of the incubator shed had actually been stolen from among Napoleon's papers. The windmill was, in fact, Napoleon's own creation. Why then, asked everybody, that had he spoken so strongly against it? Here, Squeaker looked very shy. That, he said, was comrades Napoleon's cunning. He had seemed to oppose the windmill simply as a maneuver to get rid of Snowball, who was a dangerous character and a bad influence. Now that Snowball was out of the way, the plan could go forward without his interference. This, said Squealer, was something called tactics. He repeated a number of times, tactics, comrade, tactics. Skipping around and whisking his tail with merry laugh, the animals were not certain what the word meant, but Squealer, I kept calling him Squeaker, didn't I? Squeaker, no squeak. Um, Spoken so persuasively that, and the three dogs who happened to be with him growled so threateningly that they accepted his explanation without further questions. So the leader's henchmen come in and start feeding a line and um, a line of questioning about, or a line of propaganda to get the animals to accept lower rations to build a windmill. I suggest if you haven't read Animal Farm, um, it's a good book. It's a very good tale on communism. You're right, Woodrow. Brick is brick. His YouTube name is pretty accurate. Doubtless, it had been worse in the old days. The winter was cold as the last one had been, and food was even shorter. Once again, all rations were reduced except for those of the pigs and the dogs. A too rigid equality in rations. No, I don't think it is, Sherry. I'd have to ask my ex and my daughter. Let's see. A too rigid equality in rations, Squealer explained, would be have been contrary to the principles of animalism. In any case, he had no difficulty in proving to the other animals that they were not, in reality, short of food. Whatever the appearances might be, for the time being, certainly, it had been found necessary to make a readjustment of rations. Squealer always spoke of it as a readjustment, never as a reduction. Words, playing with words, using words, and trying to subtly imply things without actually saying them, and think that it is a escape from what is really going on, right? Pats, they, I mean, such wonderful books. I mean, again, Orwell and Bradbury are two of my favorites. So let's see. But in comparison with the days of Jones, the farmer, the improvement was enormous. Reading out the figures in a shrill, rapid voice, he proved to them in detail that they had more oats, more hay, more turnips than they had in Jones's day. That they worked shorter hours, that their drinking water was of better quality, that they lived longer, that a larger proportion of their young ones survived infancy, and that they had more straw in their stalls and suffered less from fleas. The animals believed every word of it. Truth to tell, Jones and all he stood for had almost faded out of their memories. They knew that life nowadays was harsh and bare, that they were often hungry and often cold. All these ands, and they were usually working when they were not asleep. But doubtless it had been worse in the old days. They were glad to believe so. Besides, in those days, they were slaves and now they were free. And made all the difference. As Squealer did not fail to point out. No, Pats, don't tell me that crap. How rude. That's awesome though. Were you at a convention or something? Or sorry, my I'd be like, here, sign my arm. Ah, the Sugar Candy Mountain, folks. Sugar Candy Mountain from Animal Farm, 1945. He gave a talk at my college. Ah, sweet. So you actually got, man, were you at the lecture? Dang, Pat, I got so many questions. Did you read Fahrenheit? In the middle of the summer, it Oh, okay. Wow. In the middle of the summer, the raven suddenly reappeared on the farm. After an absence of several years, he was quite unchanged. Still did not work and talked in the same strain as ever about Sugar Candy Mountain. Up there, comrades, he would say solemnly, pointing to the sky with his large beak. Up there, just on the other side of the dark cloud, you can see. There it lies, Sugar Candy Mountain, that happy country where we poor animals shall rest forever from our labors. Sounds like a little bit like now we're getting into Christian nationalism, right? There, your reward is not here on earth. Your reward is up in the sky over the behind the clouds in the at the Sugar Candy Mountain. He even claimed to have been there on one of the higher of his higher flights and to have seen the everlasting fields of clover, the linseed cake and lumped sugar growing on the hedges. Many of the animals believed him. Their lives now, they reasoned, were hungry and laborious. Was it not right and just that a better world should exist somewhere else? Yeah, that's a Pat. That is a very. I've never seen your cat other than on the small side. Hey, Wyatt, I was just asking people if they had heard from you today. I was I saw you were folding clothes earlier. Yeah, there's a whole lot of that. No, you're good. People saying that the freedom of religion was really to make the country a Christian theocracy, and that is completely opposite of what that was meant for. Oh, okay. Well, glad you're doing well. Glad you're over here, bud. I'll have to stop by and give you a like. Let's see. I was catching up on sleep. Many of the animals believed him. Their lives now, they reasoned, were hungry and laborious. Was it not right and just that a better world should exist somewhere else? A thing that was difficult to determine was the attitude of the pigs towards Moses. They all declared contemptuously that his stories about Sugar Candy Mountain were lies, and yet they allowed him to remain on the farm, not working with an allowance of a gill and of a beer a day. There, when people talk about communism being a godless uh, Russia under communism, we'll just put it that way. Um, they still did this with the Russian Orthodox Church, right? Even under communism, um, they did this. They allowed them to stay. They gave them their allowances. They allowed them to conduct services with the tacit understanding that they were going to promote Russian propaganda. Obviously, um, so yeah, the Russian Orthodox Church. They were still allowed to stay even under communist rule under certain circumstances, and they still um, institute um, Putin still controls the God dang it, the narrative. Oh, you did piss him off last night, Wyatt. I think a lot of people pissed him off. He was getting paranoid over at Ruff's again last night too. Let's see. They all declared contemptuously that his stories about Sugar Candy Mountain were lies, and yet, oh, okay, we already heard that. No, no, it doesn't. But he was with JJ and Billy today somewhere. I heard there was a short of them being together. Oh, really? I love Vonnegut. I've got a I there's a big collection of Vonnegut's writings that's in my it's in my buy later on my Amazon. I think it's only like $160, but a kid and she's splitting her time between high school and college is rough. I mean, if you're going to be on the banned books list, I mean, I would take it as a point of pride. Let's see. I mentioned the reaction I had from an important official in the Ministry of Information with regard to Animal Farm. From publication of Animal Farm, The Freedom of the Press, London, 17 August 1945, New York, 26 August 1946. Yeah, Pat, you talk about you saying San Francisco, and I was thinking about it. Just put this picture in my head of the real Haight Ashbury days, right? When when Anton LaVey, L. Ron Hubbard, and all them were having their and not and Aleister Crowley were all partying together in the mansion, the Black Mansion, and having orgies and stuff, and everybody was all over the street. I complain about San Francisco now, but well, hello, sister. How are you? Um, come here. You got yeah, yeah. I think that sex party that they had in the desert. Uh, I think LeVay inserted the devil into him, if you will. I kid. I don't believe in the devil, so the devil as a malevolent spirit. But are you are you going out, Wyatt? So anyway, I mean, what do you think, Pats, about that? About we complain about people complain about San Francisco now, but it was crazy back then too. So the uh the sex shops in New York. I mean, I remember New York in the absolutely Pat. Let's see. Okay. Man, I'm getting as bad as Josh. Y'all need to freaking smack me or something. Uh, This book was first thought of. Okay, Woodrow, we're going to get to see what he was thinking when he wrote these books. This book was first thought of, so far as the central idea goes, in 1937. So, okay, so we're what we talked about yesterday with thinking about he was all right, Wyatt. I just wanted to Misty, we were talking about San Francisco. So we were talking about what idea Orwell was trying to get across. So we're about to hear his thoughts on it. So by the time when it came to be written, it was obvious that there would be a great difficulty in getting it published. In spite of the present book shortage, which ensures that anything describable as a book will sell. Shout out to Shitty Shows and them. Shout out to F3 and them. Uh, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for Josh and them. And this goes all the way back to when I started with him and Hippie and who I can't. Does anybody else go that far back? If they do, I can't remember. Kevin, I think not Kevin. I'll have to ask Josh again. Stay on. Oh, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. Let's see. Far back. Oh, as far back as when uh, Stone Vet started. No, Jerry. I was pre Jerry even. It was a MP guy or SP. He was I think he was an Air Force guy. Yeah. I was back in the Blue Bacon days, pre Jeff even. And then I had a PTSD meltdown and was off the internet for a year. Let's see. Okay. And in the event, it was refused by four publishers. It's only been like 3 years. Feels like 5 years. Really, Pat? Yeah, I was following other channels, and that's how I fell on Stone Vets. I mean, I was all up in. I was listening to Blue Bacon, KFAR, and I was always watching all them. That side of the fence. Todd's always making claims of grandeur. Let's see. So he had been refused by four publishers. Only one of these had any ideological motive. Two had been publishing anti Russian books for years, and the other had no noticeable political color. Yeah, COVID shutdown made the internet shit skyrocket. Let's see. One publisher actually started by accepting the book, but after making the preliminary arrangements, he decided to consult the ministry. I said they make me laugh. I was telling Josh back then when I started. Yeah, I don't know. I hit it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Okay, good, 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 good. Let's see. Hey, if y'all don't mind, I know most of you do, but I just a reminder, hit that like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thank you. My numbers have been outstanding, y'all. I really do appreciate y'all sticking with me. Um, so I mentioned the reaction I had from an important official with the Ministry of Information with regard to Animal Farm. I must confess that this expression of opinion has given me seriously to think. Misty, 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 are you there? Okay. You're good, Pats. We're struggling through getting started, but I'm having fun with you guys. I really like being able to openly express how I feel about things. So let's see. Ta-da. I can see now that it might be regarded as something which it was highly ill advised to publish at the present time. If the fable were addressed generally to dictators and dictatorships at large, then the publication would be all right. But the fable does not follow. As I see now so completely the progress of the Russian Soviets and their two dictators that it can apply only to Russia, to the exclusion of other dictatorships. Another thing, it would be less offensive if the predominant caste in the fable were not pigs. I think the choice of pigs as the ruling caste will no doubt give offense to many people, and particularly anyone who is a bit touchy, as undoubtedly the Russians are. So, this is an official government agency saying that, telling the publisher of Animal Farm that, hey, take this and that out, don't offend the communists, and we'll be okay. Now I'm paranoid about my mute. This kind of thing is not a good symptom. Obviously, it is not desirable that a government department should have any power of censorship, except security censorship, which no doubt, which no one objects to in wartime, over books which are not officially sponsored. Yes, absolutely, Woodrow. They when they hated when I would do responses and stuff because I'm like one page response, concise and to the point about how to fix something. Now, if we were technical writing or something like that, it's different. But just to be so dumb, but you'd think pigs would be annoying to another group, right, Pats? It is. I never knew this until I read this book. It's kind of super eye opening because there is an implied freedom of the press. I don't know if it's explicit. In Britain, I know there is one in France. It's a little more strict than ours, but it's there. But I think any democracy founded on the Magna Carta principles or generally do have some sort of freedom of speech. So, but the chief danger of freedom of thought. So here we're seeing maybe what he was thinking when he or may have triggered his thought on 1984, right? See, at the moment, it is not the direct information of MOI or the Ministry of Information or an official body. If publishers and editors exert themselves to keep certain topics out of print, it is not because they are frightened of prosecution, but because they are frightened of public opinion. In this country, intellectual cowardice is the worst enemy of a writer or journalist has to face. And that fact does not seem to me to have had the discussion it deserves. People who don't eat them, like me. Are you talking about me, Pats? Is this the Jewish question? The federal government likes annexes, use MDMP, and then only brief the bluff. Yeah. What a waste of resources. Yeah, it's absolutely a waste of resources and time. It waste and oh man, just horrible waste. Yeah, we're going to face it more heavily now, Pat. Absolutely. The intellectual cowardice too is absolutely insane to me. I don't know if any of y'all. I'm not really a mainstream media person, but I noticed that the Brzezinski and what's her husband's name on MSNBC that have hated on Trump for the last 10 years. Uh, they have a morning show. Anyway, then they went to Mar-a-Lago or and are getting kind of in bed with the Trump and yeah, Joe and Morning Joe, right? Yeah. I used to like him too. Then he went. I think he went a little too far left for me, but and I used to think she was hot. Let's see. A fair minded person with journalistic experience will admit that during this war, official censorship has not been particularly irksome. They are. They've yeah, they went and bended the knee, Pats. And now the backlash has been so great, they're trying to back down. Maddow took a pay cut. Let's see. Sorry. Short break to clean my glasses. What's up, Senor Jefe? Hope you're doing good, bud. Are we going on tonight? Or are you taking the night off? I didn't realize we're pushing up on 2 hours. And if you don't hear howdy ho and hear it as oh howdy ho, I don't know what you're missing something. Who, Maddow? Yeah, I absolutely think that too. I've been trying to I've tipped my toes in the water, but I hadn't been standing 10 toes down on sitting with my 10 toes in my square talking about it over here. Because I figured we would be. Uh-oh, I have low flying helicopters, everybody. People start repelling, kicking in my windows. Y'all know what happened. Oh, man. Dang, where'd I go? Okay. We have not been subjected to the kind of totalitarian coordination that it might have been reasonable to expect. The press has some. Get me for what soundboard sound? What did I do? The hidey ho? I was doing it to remind everybody how to hear what you wrote. They can't hear you. I just see the I think she was saying Maddow. I think she's smart. Her politics are it's whatever. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh man. The press has some justified grievances, but on the whole, the government has behaved well and has been surprisingly tolerant of minority opinions. The sinister fact about literary censorship in England is that it is largely voluntary. Pat, she said Maddow. The sinister fact about literary censorship in England is okay. Unpopular ideas can be silenced and inconvenient facts kept dark. Without the need for any official ban, anyone who has lived long in a foreign country will know of instances of sensational items of news which, on their own merits, wouldn't get the big headlines, being kept right out of the British press, not because the British government intervened, because the general tacit agreement that it wouldn't do that. The way the quote worked messed me up. it wouldn't do to mention that particular fact. So that so there's a tacit marriage right between government and the press that uh, some things won't be reported on uh, for general convenience, comfort, and convenience. Yeah, it's same here too. This is everywhere. Well, that's what we're saying right here with Orwell is that tacit agreement, and he's about to get into the money classes tipping their toes into it as well. Okay. So far as the daily newspapers go, this is easy to understand. The British press is extremely centralized, and most of it is owned by wealthy men who have every motive to be dishonest on every certain topic. But the same kind of veiled censorship also operates in books and periodicals, as well as in plays, films, and radio. I mean, take it easy, man. Have fun until we go on tonight. And I don't double D's, and I don't know why Tucker sells out. He can afford not to sell out. I think the I think his family money. He heck has a family private island. Who me? I hate that little on bitch. He, see, everybody in their Hellcats and Scat Packs are out tonight. They're being very loud. Oh, I think Double D's would hate Tucker as well, just based on our conversations. Let's see. At any given moment, there is an orthodoxy, a body of ideas which it is assumed that all right thinking people will accept without question. It is not exactly forbidden to say this, that, or the other, this, that, or the other, but it is not done to say it. Just as in mid Victorian times, it was not done to mention trousers in the presence of a lady. My dear lady, my breeches. He could come here, but he wouldn't know how to secure it properly, and it'd be gone in like 2 seconds. One of the most stolen vehicles in the sector since I moved south of Atlanta. It's still the same here. That's funny about the mentioning of trousers in the presence of a lady. Anyone who challenges the prevailing orthodoxy finds himself silenced with surprising effectiveness. A genuinely unfashionable opinion is almost never given a fair hearing, either in the popular press or in the highbrow periodicals. At this moment, what is demanded by the prevailing orthodoxy is an uncritical admiration of Soviet Russia. Remember, they were our friends. In 45, they had just helped us. What month was this? And we already nuked the. Oh, this is 46, so it was done. Anyone who challenges the prevailing orthodoxy finds himself silenced with surprising effectiveness. A genuinely unfashionable opinion is almost never given a fair hearing, either in a popular sense or in the highbrow periodicals. At this moment, oh, yeah, I've already read this. By the moment, what is demanded by the prevailing orthodoxy is an uncritical admiration of Soviet Russia. Everyone knows this. Nearly everyone acts on it. Any serious criticism of the Soviet regime, any disclosure of facts which the Soviet government would prefer to keep hidden, is next to door to unprintable. And this nationwide conspiracy to flatter our allies takes place, curiously enough, against the background of genuine intellectual tolerance. Anti-intellectualism is a disgusting back blow to that leads to totalitarianism, I will call it. For though you are not allowed to criticize the Soviet government, at least you are reasonably free to criticize your own. Hardly anyone will print an attack on Stalin, but it is quite safe to attack Churchill, at any rate in books and periodicals. Although all and throughout 5 years of war, during 2 or 3 of which we were fighting for national survival, countless books, pamphlets, and articles advocating a compromised peace have been published without reference. More, they have been published without exciting much disapproval, so long as the prestige of the USSR is not involved. The principle of free speech has been reasonably well upheld. There are other forbidden topics, and I shall mention some of them presently. But the prevailing attitude towards the USSR is much the most serious symptom. It is, as it were, spontaneous, and is not due to the action of any pressure group. I can see this happening. I can see this happening with the United States trying to silence dissent and outcries against the Israeli government. It's a sad thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm pro-Israel. I'm not speaking out against the place of my forefathers, but we should be able to report on and call out wrong when wrong is right in our faces. So anyway, I think I'm going to stop here. We can chat a little bit. We're hitting on 2 hours. I need to eat, take take some coffee and take some coffee. I'm not getting a coffee enema, but look, I got I got it on my kind of a left leaning soapbox today. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. What I want to do is, as Pat's cat says, try to have a place of peace and understanding and free exchange of ideas to where, but I want people to see um, what our government's doing to us as a whole, and um, not one side or the other. Um, when it, when I argue, when I look at politics, I look at, I love my neighbors, but it'll be it'll be nice if we could all just, in the immortal words of Rodney King, get along. Um, when I'm going off about religion. Hey Boston, be safe, buddy. Are you going to look for diamonds? Bring me back a big one if you find any, bud. Yeah, Pats, exactly. We need a free press. We need we need to hold the government accountable, not in some asshole way like certain people like to do. Um, and be well meaning. Go in, talk to people, uh, and I don't know. Post offices are not what we need to hold accountable. Banks are not, well. Banks at the higher level, a local branch is not uh is not where to do bank accountability. Um, talk to the shareholders and the stakeholders. Um, anyway, um, I will see you guys in probably 2 hours. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what time Jeff's gonna go on. Probably I would say 7:45 or 8:05. And just because I said that, he's gonna do another time because Je- Jeff's not gonna be held to anything anyone says. So it's a great thing that he's that way because I'm the same way. Hats. Uh y'all can call me Sean or Ned. I don't really care. I answer to any of them. Greg has become confused because they talk about him now using his name instead of my brother's heavy breather. Um so I kind of like Ned, and I thank Todd for giving me that nickname. I kind of like it. So so I've kind of run with that. So, anyway, if anybody doesn't have any, if nobody has anything else, we will. Well, Sean was in my was on my profile name, and then I did. I was just kind of looking for a brand, right? And I did all kinds. Greg Brady. Somebody in the chat said I looked like Greg Brady one day because I didn't have a leave-in conditioner in my hair. Of course, now I would. It's about this long. So, either way, I think it's a super common name. I see so many people with Sean. Uh, anyway, I'll see you guys. I appreciate y'all sticking with me for 2 hours. And well, my priest is my other half, and my name. That I mean, um, my family name is Scott Irish. There's Galway, and then there's Galloway. Galloway Humphreys in Scotland. So I just doxed myself. Oh no. Oh yeah, that's right. Todd already did that. So I don't care. Y'all have a good one. See y'all in a bit. That's how I spell it, though, with these.